Broadcasting live from the New Creations Weight Loss Studio in Little Rock, it's Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, Val Emmons, and this is Crime Chronicle Live here at KARN News Radio. Today, joining me on the show, I have Bilenda Harris-Ritter. Bilenda, you want to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Hi, I'm Bilenda Harris-Ritter. I'm an attorney at Ritter Law in Maumelle. I teach crime victim rights as an adjunct professor at UALR. I have had about 30 years of experience dealing with crime victims in Arkansas and in California, and on a national level as a member of the NOVA board, which stands for National Organization for Victim Assistance, and also before that on the National Board of Parents of Murdered Children.
Okay. And we at Crime Chronicle, we thought that after what has happened at Park Plaza Mall, that for some reason this one is just it's just touching everyone, and me being a mother, I can't get Kimberly Powell, who's the mother of Christian Hayes, I cannot get her off my mind lately. And so we wanted to I wanted to have her on the show today, but she was unable to be on because she's flying, but I did get a chance to talk to her, and so I will, a little bit later in the show, we'll talk about what she and I discussed. But I want to find out more information because she's not the only one out there that needs your help at NOVA. And there's so much stuff going on right now that I feel that there's a lot of people out there that actually don't have a clue in the assistance that they could be receiving from organizations such as yours.
Well, I think you're right. I think most people, just regular members of society who've never had any contact with the criminal justice system,
right,
have no idea who is considered a victim under the law, and it's different in each state and under the federal laws, and they don't know how to go about exercising the rights that are available to them under the law. They don't understand how to talk to police officers or later on the prosecutor, because they've never had to do it, for one thing, and they are completely in shock. They're grieving.
Right.
There is nothing as final as having a murder in your family.
Well, and that gives me chills because that's exactly what Kimberly and I are talking about. I wish she could have been on today, but she said that she would come on next week and talk with us about, the stages that she's going through in her grief process, and just the senseless murder of her son, that Christian Hayes, who was 25 years old. I mean, he had his whole life ahead of him, and now he's gone. And like I said, she's not the only one out there. But so what kind of things can you do when someone calls you up and says, what can you help me with? This has happened, let's just use Kimberly, for example. Mrs. Powell, if she called you up and said, my son was murdered, how can you help me?
Well, if she called me and said, how can you help me, I would tell her that the first thing I would want to do is explain to her rights under Arkansas law, because even though she doesn't live in Arkansas, her son was murdered here and he lived in Arkansas,
right,
and that will control what rights are in play. It's very interesting to me a lot of times when I start talking with a new victim. First of all, she would say, well, I wasn't the victim, I'm his mother. But under Arkansas law, the next of kin of a murder victim steps into the shoes of that victim and receives the rights that that person would have if they were alive, if they had lived through the shooting or beating or stabbing or however they were murdered. And I would explain to her that the police or the sheriff or whatever agency is investigating, here it would be the Little Rock Police Department, is obligated to provide you with certain information. The trouble is they don't have to give it to you in writing. They can just do it orally. And if you're being told, okay, you need to contact us to find out this, you need to keep in touch with us so we can update you as the investigation goes forward, you are probably in a fog at that time. I know about this because 32 years ago my parents were murdered, and I got a phone call. I was in school in California, and I could not believe it. Your brain refuses to accept information that is that horrible, and you just it's funny. Your brain just keeps rejecting it, and you keep thinking, no, this didn't happen. No, this didn't happen. So I know she's probably going through that right now. Every victim is different. Nobody reacts exactly the same way, but for the most part, it's just shock at the beginning, especially when you think everything is fine. Maybe you've just talked to them the day before, or if you live with them, if it's your child who disappears or something, you can't believe you're never
happening to you.
You're never going to talk to them again.
Right.
And she may be finding herself thinking, oh, I need to pick up the phone and call him.
Ugh.
Christopher would think this is so funny. You know, it's something we've shared before. And as you reach for the phone, you realize
you can't
you
do that
can't
anymore.
do
Oh,
that.
you're going to make me cry.
And I'm sorry.
No, it's
but
just, as a mother, I contacted Mrs. Powell as a mother because as everyone who listens to the show knows, I have 2 teenage boys and they hang out at that mall. They did not know Christopher, like, by his first name, but they had conversations with him, and they could have been there. I mean, well, it was closing time, but still. I mean, and I reached out to her as a mother, and we kind of made a connection, and I just want to do anything and everything I can to help her now because she is a very bright woman, and she did not deserve this. No victim ever deserves this.
No, nobody deserves it. And that's another thing that's sometimes difficult for victims. If their loved one was involved in activity that might have been a little bit shady. Sometimes we have parents whose daughters have been prostitutes and they're murdered. Well, you don't get a death sentence for prostitution.
Right.
It's, a crime, but nobody has a right to kill you while you're doing that.
Well,
and so even though they were breaking the law or they were doing things their parents didn't want them to do, which can make it even more heartbreaking, they still have a right to all of those rights that they're allowed to have under the law. And sometimes it's difficult for them to work with the police. Even if the police are doing everything that they are supposed to do, the parents may feel like, well, they must think we're bad parents.
Right.
And that is another hurdle for people to get over when they're trying to deal with a system that they don't know anything about. And as I want to point out, because I think it's really important, this is the criminal justice system. It's not
the
victim
justice system.
system.
Oh, that
That's
makes so much
right.
sense.
The rights are in there to protect the defendant,
Right.
and those rights are important. But somehow, since the founding of our nation, victims' rights got eroded away, and it's only been over the last 30 years that they've been getting put back in.
You know what? I never thought about that. The way that you put it, it just makes so much sense that why have we been... I mean, yes, we focus on defendants because sometimes people do get arrested and they're innocent.
Right.
But what about the innocent who are always innocent? And like we were talking during the break, you and I, about, you said that you hate when people say he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. You want to...
Right, because he was at work.
Right, Christian was at work doing nothing wrong.
Right, my parents were at home. Where else were they supposed to be? They were at the right place at the right time. The person who came in and broke the law is the person who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so often you will hear a police officer on the news say, well, they were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And often it's a public place. It's a fast food restaurant. It's a bank. They have every right to go there. Those places are open for business. They encourage the public to be there.
Right.
They don't want people to come in there and break the law.
Right.
So those people are in the wrong.
I completely agree. Well, joining us also in the studio, listeners, I want to let you know I have an anonymous guest who does not want me to reveal his name and information, but he wanted to share with us his story because he was also a victim of a violent crime several years back. We'll just call him Johnny. Johnny, you want to share with us what happened to you?
Yes. I was leaving Vino's downtown Little Rock one night. I'm a musician and I was playing, and I left, 12, 1 o'clock at night, and a man approached me at a stoplight a few blocks down with a story that his wife was pregnant in the car, and their car broke down, and he needed a ride over to a children's hospital to where his father was working. And I didn't really want to, but I felt sorry for him, and so I went ahead and gave him a ride. And once we got over to Children's Hospital, he said that he didn't see his father's car, and requested that I just take him down the street around the corner. This is over by Central High School on the other side of it. And so I was, still real nervous about it, but I still, we were already in the process, so we did it. And we came around and stopped in front of a abandoned house, and then that's where he proceeded to threaten me with a gun and, threaten my life, call me all kinds of names, racial slurs. And I was young and naive, so I just gave him whatever was in my wallet, which had been my whole paycheck, which was a bad thing to do. But anyway, he...
well, I guess it's better than the alternative.
Yeah. And so I just emptied my wallet, and, for some reason he thought that he should just keep, insulting me. He never, physically touched me or nothing, but he did. He showed me his gun, and then, just intimidation, and I was just young. And, a lot of people say, oh, if I was in that situation, I would do something different. But until you're in that situation, you really don't know what you would do unless you're, special forces or...
So in this instance, Bilenda, if he were to come to Nova being a victim, is he still considered a victim by Nova by what happened?
Well, he would be considered a victim. We look at the law of the state you're in, and that was a violent crime because a gun was pulled on you and you were robbed. So, and that would be aggravated robbery.
Uh-huh.
And so you're absolutely a victim. And even more important than what Nova could do by sending you to people who could help you as far as assist you in getting any benefits that you might be able to get. For instance, if there was damage to your car during the process, they would want you to understand what agencies in your state could assist you with help, like the Crime Victim Reparations Board, like what the police should do about giving you a report on what happened and following up with you and letting you know how the investigation was going. And if someone was arrested, you being able to confer with the prosecutor before there's a plea bargain, that kind of information.
Well, we are going to talk more about that when we come back. But if you have a question for Bilenda today, or if you would like to share your story, you can give us a call at 433-0092. The lines are open right now, and they will be for the rest of the show. That's 433-0092. Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today. Are you in the market for tactical gear or firearms? Stop by Simply Tactical, located at 1900 Military Road in Benton. Simply Tactical is locally owned and operated and your source for tactical gear, firearms, and accessories. So give Barry, Jacob, or Judy a call at 501-778-8100. Again, that's 501-778-8100.
Realtors have expertise in land development and management, retail, industrial, office, and investment properties. They have the experience, knowledge, and savvy to help you achieve your business and investment real estate goals. Realtors also have the power of the National Association of Realtors behind them, working with legislators and regulators to support the key role commercial real estate plays in our national economy. Ask for a professional who understands your commercial business. Ask for a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
What do you expect from your lawn this year? Now, during Kubota's Great Expectations sales event, you can get a great deal on the all-new Kubota Commander Zero-Turn Mower. With Kubota, expect professional performance, expect signature styling and comfort, expect affordability, expect a full 4-year, 300-hour factory warranty. Raise your expectations about your lawn with a Kubota Commander. Now with financing as low as 0% APR. See your Kubota dealer today.
So I know you've heard Dave Ellswick talk about the HCG diet on his show. Well, I too am a client. And since I started this diet, the first week I lost 7 pounds. If you want to know more about the HCG diet, give New Creations Weight Loss Clinic a call at 501-791-6795 to set up your appointment with Dr. Schroeder. Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook/Crime Chronicle.
Don't be a victim. Keep listening to Crime Chronicle Live on KARN 102.9 FM.
And we are back in the studio with Bilenda Harris-Ritter. And we forgot to mention that, Bilenda, you were on the parole board in California, right?
Right. I did serve on the parole board, which was really eye-opening because having represented people as an attorney in front of parole boards, having been a victim appearing in front of parole boards, it gave me a completely different perspective to be the person who was basically the trier of fact and weighing all the evidence that's presented at a hearing to see whether or not the inmate has met what they need to do to be eligible for parole to be granted. And in California, the process is a little different than in Arkansas. In Arkansas, the victims go to the regular monthly meeting of the parole board, right, in Little Rock.
Right.
They don't go to the prison, and they are told in a brochure ahead of time that they are limited to 15 minutes, which I frankly think is
15 minutes,
illegal. Yeah, but they haven't changed that. I know when I have appeared in front of the parole board, I have talked as long as I wanted to talk, and they have not tried to stop me. They've been very good about that.
Right.
But in California, the hearings go on for hours. They're held at the prison. The inmate is there with his or her attorney. The victim is there, maybe with an attorney. The prosecuting attorney is there. The commissioner who's running the hearing is there, and a deputy commissioner. And then there are 2 correctional officers in the room in case something goes wrong and the inmate tries to come across the desk after the commissioner,
Wow.
which does happen.
Yeah, well, yeah. They
And-
wouldn't be there if they're, because
Right.
they're law-abiding citizens.
Right.
Well, I want to, if it's okay with you, to ask you a little bit more about your parents' murder,
Absolutely.
if you don't mind for taking that from, you said that you had gotten the call and you didn't want to believe that it had happened, as we probably all would react the same way. So what happened in that?
Well, I got a phone call telling me that my father and stepmother were dead. I had just been home for Christmas.
And do you mind, what were their names? If anyone somebody
my
might know
dad
them.
was a retired Army Colonel, William James Harris, and my stepmother, Evelyn Davis Harris. They lived in rural Stone County, about 17 miles outside of Mountain View. And my 3 half-sisters were still at home. They were very young. They were 2, 5, and 7.
Wow.
And they were all home when this happened. And this was a guy who had a violent past. He had shot a 14-year-old girl a year and a half before. He drove into Mountain View on Saturday night and put a shotgun out the window of his truck and shot into the crowd as the movie theater let out and hit her in the pelvis. That's pretty violent, that's pretty random, and that's pretty dangerous in a public place.
Wow.
And you might wonder why he was not in prison.
Right.
Well, he should have been. But the prosecutor who was there at the time had a reputation for making deals. I'll just leave it at that. He later was indicted for stealing from the Child Support Fund from the state of Arkansas and was convicted in federal court and did serve time in federal prison. So a lot of times people who are victims think, well, the prosecutor will just do everything for me. Well, you might get a bad prosecutor. Not very
They're
likely.
human. They're human.
They're human.
Human
That's
nature.
Right. So anyway, after he did that, there was a deal made, like a plea bargain, and he did not have to serve any time. In fact, he was out of jail before that young girl was out of intensive care.
Oh my gosh.
And he was told to pay her medical bills. That was the arrangement that was made. Well, what a surprise. He did not do that. And so a year and a half later, he received a phone call that said, since you have not paid these medical bills, you're going to have to go to jail. And he didn't want to. So he called her. Now, she's like almost 16 at this point, but she's still a young girl. She lives with her mother and her sister. Her father had died a few years before, and they live outside of town. How would you feel? You pick up that telephone, and it's the guy who shot you, and he says,
No
I want to
kidding.
come over and talk to you. What would you do?
Oh my
they got in their
gosh.
car
Oh
and
my
they
I
left.
can't even imagine.
They left, which is the smartest thing they could have done. Well, we don't know if he ever went over to that house or not. But the next day, he was pretty angry still, and he parked his truck on our driveway. Now, our driveway was a mile long because it was a gravel road from the highway down
Now,
to
this
our
girl
house.
had nothing to do with your family.
Nothing to do with our family.
He just they parked their car on your
He-
property. His car on your property.
He apparently left his parents' house in Fox to go into Mountain View. And our road was the first driveway on the highway into Mountain View from where he lived. So he just made a left turn onto Highway 9 off of 263, and then for some reason turned on our driveway. We think what happened was that my father found him there. Maybe he went up for the mail. We don't know. And what the murderer says is that my father told him he had to leave because he was trespassing. And instead of leaving, he got his shotgun and went through our woods down to the edge of the meadow by our house and waited until my father came out to feed the dog. And then he shot him in the back. And when he fell, my stepmother heard the shot and came out of the house to help my dad, and he shot her in the chest. Then he dragged the bodies back around behind the house, and then he opened the kitchen door and went in.
With
And-
your little,
Yeah.
with your sisters.
Yes. 2, 5, and 7, this man walks in the house and says, I'm John, which wasn't his name, and I'm your babysitter. Your parents had to leave. Can you imagine how frightened they were? Can you
Oh my
imagine how
gosh.
terrified? And he spent the night in the house.
Oh my gosh.
He wrecked the inside of the house. He tore the books out of the bookshelves. He opened the refrigerator. He took the food out. He threw it on the ceiling and on the walls and on the floor.
So your sisters, I'm still back to that. They were in the house with this man.
Well, he's a maniac. Yes. And finally, one of my sisters asked him what he was looking for. And he told her, I'm looking for guns. And sometime during the night, he left. And he did take the 45 that my father's men presented to him when he retired from the military. He was a career officer, retired as a full colonel, and he also took our shotgun. He then went to another house the next day, and with my dad's 45, he shot another man. He shot him in the stomach as the man opened his door, as the guy came up to his house. He was shooting the gun in the yard, and then came up to the door. The door was opened. He shot him, but that man didn't die. And in fact, he was able to grab a hold of him, and the murderer, and hit his head on the floor until he knocked him out enough that he could crawl and call the
Oh
sheriff.
my gosh.
And so when the sheriff got there, the murderer said, you should just kill me right now. I've done a terrible thing to the Harrises.
He knew them.
He knew the name. He'd been in the house.
Oh,
My
okay,
dad's
okay.
name was on the gun.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
but
my
we didn't know
gosh.
him.
I've done a terrible thing to the Harrises. I am
Yeah.
so sorry, Belinda.
So about the same time, my sister called for an ambulance. And they put the name together, and that's how they found our house.
Wow. And so from there,
From there, I started having contact with the prosecutor, telling me what was going on and saying, well, now I want your sisters to come here and be sitting in the front row when we have this trial.
and how old were you? I'm sorry.
I was in graduate school in California. I was 30.
Okay.
So we didn't want my sisters to go back
Right.
there. They moved to another state with their mother's brother and his wife. And it would have been too traumatic to come back for a trial.
Right.
So all through get calls from the prosecutor about continuances, and finally in October when we were set to go to trial, this happened in at the end of February, finally in October when we were ready to go to trial, I got a phone call that said, well, we gave him a plea agreement. No one told me. This was before we had a Victim's Bill of Rights in Arkansas. And he pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. And so he's going to get life in prison. He's never going to get out. You're going to be able to just go on with your lives and put this behind you.
Right.
Okay, first of all, you can never do that. But just because someone gets life in prison doesn't mean your contact with them is over at all. He then, a year later, wanted to have a trial. He had changed his mind. Then he went through all kinds of appeals on both levels. And then he wanted to, then he wrote to me. And I had to go to court to get rid of the problem with him writing to me. I went to court. I had to go back to Stone County, and he represented himself in court. So he got to cross-examine me while I was sitting on the witness stand over whether or not he should be allowed to write to me if he felt like it. So that basically tells you a little bit about how that process went. In addition to that, there have been a number of clemency petitions that he has filed over the year that I have had to fight. We have done petition drives. We have done letter campaigns. I have appeared in front of the parole board. Members of my family have appeared in front of the parole board. And each time we have been fortunate enough to have the petitions found to be without merit. But we shouldn't have to keep going through that when his reason for filing a clemency petition is that he thinks he received an unjust sentence, when the sentence he got was the least he could possibly get for his crime.
Okay, well, we're going to have to take a break here in a second. And I believe we are going to have Christian Hayes' mother. She missed her plane, so she has called in and she's going to talk to us. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook/Crime Chronicle. I need to tell you about Central Arkansas's newest gun store and indoor range, Arkansas Armory. The emphasis at Arkansas Armory is personal protection, concealed carry, and tactical home defense. They have a 25-yard indoor range with excellent ventilation. If you're looking to take a concealed carry licensure course, or if you just want a convenient place to shoot, give Nathan House and the Arkansas Armory staff a call at 501-835-4867 or stop by at 7600 Landers Road in Sherwood. That's 501-835-GUNS.
There's a reason you see the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer at your pediatrician's office. There's a reason doctors and nurses use it both at work and at home. That reason is because the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer gives fast, accurate readings with just a gentle forehead scan, backed by more than 40 published medical studies. It gives you the peace of mind that your family is using the best and a great value for the money. So there's no reason you shouldn't have one in your home. Pick one up today at Target and other fine retailers.
He wakes up, sniffs around, looks for great deals all over town. He's Sweet Jack, he's Sweet Jack, he's SweetJack.com. He searches in all places, really hot deals are what he chases. To get the best deals in your inbox, that's why he rocks. Sweet, Sweet Jack, sweet, Sweet Jack, sweet, Sweet Jack, SweetJack.com.
So I know there's some ladies out there listening today, and I want to tell you about Gold Standard Distributors. Gold Standard Distributors is the source for all your beauty needs. You can call Rodney today at 501-240-6729 to hear the current deals and specials. I have to tell you, after receiving my One Professional Legacy blow dryer from Gold Standard a few weeks ago, I had no idea it would be so amazing. I had the problem with static in my hair, and this blow dryer has taken all of that away and made it disappear. It's absolutely amazing. So give Rodney a call today at 501-240-6729 to find out their other great products. Tell them Val sent you. Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today.
Pick up your copy of the Crime Chronicle today because you have a right to know.
Hello, we are back, and on the phone we have Christian Hayes' mother, Kimberly Powell. Hi, Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, hello. Hi, everyone.
And we also, Kimberly, we have Bilenda Harris-Ritter here with us today. I spoke to you about her yesterday. She is the advocate for... she's actually an attorney, but she's also an advocate with NOVA, which is the National Association. I'm sorry, I'm getting all scuffled. You go ahead, Belinda. You take it.
Hi, Kimberly. I'm Belinda, and I'm an attorney.
Hello.
Hi, I'm an attorney here in Arkansas. I'm on the board of trustees for NOVA, which is the National Organization for Victim Assistance. NOVA does a lot of training for advocates all over the country, and in fact, even in the military. And I work a lot with victims of violent crime and next of kin. My parents were murdered 32 years ago, and so I know the pain of getting that phone call and the person you love is never going to be there anymore. So my heart goes out to you for what you're going through right now. But if you need any help with what your rights are here in Arkansas as a victim or how our law works, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions now or even later. I'll give you my contact information off the air, and you can call me at any time if you need help getting things explained.
Oh, thank you so much for that. First, I would just like to say, thank you guys for calling me back. I'm actually
you're welcome.
On my way back, but I'm gonna take my time and try and answer as many questions as I can. Hopefully, this is going to help some family. I just pray for that. That's the only thing I could say for that.
Well, I think all of us who go through that feel that way. It puts you in kinship in where everyone's heart has been broken, and anything you can do to help those other people eases your pain a little bit, I think.
Oh, well, the pain is, it's never, go.
No, I do know.
Because I loved him, and I guess, unfortunately, because I loved him so incredibly much. He was my firstborn, my only born child, and he was just a remarkable young man, and it's a loss of titanic proportion to my family. It's a loss to the city of Little Rock because he touched everyone. I mean, everywhere that Christian went, even if you met him once, I've had at the services, people came up to me, I've only met your son one time, but he was just a wonderful young man. He was just that, he's that type of guy, and even in the wake of his murder, because it's not a death, it was a murder, he didn't die, someone killed him. He's still doing good work, like we're talking about this now. And hopefully we'll be able to do, some more advocacy. So even
Yes, ma'am.
even now, he's still touching people. Even now,
right.
he was just a wonderful, because he's still in the paper, and they're not going to, the media is not going to just have anyone like that. He was a truly remarkable young man, incredibly intelligent, always in the gifted class. Even when he was little, I knew he was gifted because he came up to me one time. I think he might have been about 3 or 4, and he says, "Mom, I know it's 6 different kinds of penguins, and I know about Rockhopper and the Emperor, but I forgot about the other 4. Can you help me?" I'm looking at this kid like, you've got to be kidding. Really? So I knew he was special at such a young age. I can't really, just if I start talking about him, I won't stop. But he was just a remarkable young man, and no one, no matter what walk of life, have anything negative to say about my child.
This is Kimberly, when you sent that picture, and I showed it to my son, he was like, "Yep, that's I know him. We go to the mall, and he is a great guy. We used to talk about music." Like, he didn't know him, like he didn't hang out with him or anything, but he was like, "Yeah, we used to talk about music and stuff when I'd go down to the mall and get a pizza or something." And it's just like,
oh yeah, he got that from me. I took him everywhere. I mean, I used to take him to concerts. Everywhere I want this kid. When he loved music, he loved movies, and he loved to read. He loved his family. He loved the Lord. He loved animals, and not light. He, sometimes you'd have to introduce him to things, and then once he held on, then that was pretty much it.
right.
He was just, it was just a fantastic, light that was extinguished, and this is why the town is feeling that. The city of Little Rock, and I do have to say that the police of the city of Little Rock, they moved expeditiously. They're wonderful, sweet and caring. As much compassion as I felt, they really. I know they worked really hard, and they're working very hard to find justice for my child. And, of course, let's not forget the other young lady, Jashanta Thomas, who was horrifically injured in this, horribly injured. It just doesn't make any sense. And they're working really hard to get justice for my family, and as well as hers. If anyone from her family wants to reach out to me, I would love to talk to her and wish her well, or flowers, or anything. I just thought just how brave this poor young lady is. I just want to kiss her, bless her heart. That's just bless her heart.
Right, and her family must be going through just as much as you are. I mean, not with the loss, but just the after effects of the shooting.
And Christian and Jashanta, they were your friends, and they were doing what they were supposed to do as young people, being productive. They weren't outside. They weren't smoking. They weren't drinking. They were at work.
And that's funny that you say that, because before you called in, Belinda was just saying that. Belinda?
A lot of times you will hear in the media or people from law enforcement say, well, the victim was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that isn't true. The victims are where they are supposed to be, doing what they are supposed to be doing. And it's the wrongdoer, the murderer, who is in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's exactly right. And Christian, I don't know Jashanta, but Christian has worked ever since he's been in Little Rock. He's always worked. He was on schedule for his, he already had 1 college degree. He was working, he had 1 more semester for a second, and he was working on his master's. So he's always worked. He didn't just start working.
Right.
And he always, looked out for his co-workers. He never had any, oh, sorry about that, you guys. Like I said, I'm in the airport. And he, oh, I'm in the airport. I have to, eventually, I'm going to go home and try and figure out what to do with the rest of my life without, he was my, he was the base of everything I did, revolved around my son.
I do.
Everything, no matter where I was at, just like any good parent, everything you do revolves around your children because you want to, to be the best person, be the best parent that you can be. But like I said, he has. I don't know about those others two, the murderers. I can't even call them young men because that's not what they are, the murderers. But I know my son. He got his morals and his ethics and his character from the people that surrounded him, and I let surround him, and his people, and like his love of the Lord, like I said. So it wasn't a problem. I never had to say, get a job to Christian. Sometimes young people, they don't know where to go and what to do, and you might have to struggle with them. Sweetheart, get a job or anything like that. I never had that. He was exactly where he was supposed to be, closing up at his job. So, but this, I don't know. It's a different type of a phenomenon, but not even a good one, where people don't settle there. If they had, and it wasn't even like a difference, because Christian did not have any problems with the murderers. He didn't have any problems from what I was told, and he would have told me. He didn't have, from what I could see.
Often the victim has no idea who the person is or why it happened, and a lot of times victims want to talk to the murderers and find out what caused everything, but often that doesn't work out very well because the murderers don't even know why they did it or why they picked that person.
Well,
agreed.
In this particular case, this is true because sometimes you hear about things like stray bullets and things like that, and people are injured or killed or anything like that. But from what I understand, those two, they actually worked, with my sweet son, and they didn't have anything that would aggravate something this horrible.
Right.
It it wasn't an accident. It wasn't. It was purposeful.
It was premeditated.
Exactly. Without me going, too far, because it is an investigation.
Right.
But it was it was just that. But Christian was the type of guy, where, sometimes people, they have problems, with other people, and maybe you could see, a problem coming. But this was so like, what do like when I had told some of my friends where I lived, and a lot of people just looked at me, Chris, and the first thing they said is, Chris who? I was like, my son. One lady, okay, I know your son. Well, what do you mean? They couldn't understand, they couldn't put it together. Like, how could someone hurt that child? Mm-hmm. And especially someone that he was very well acquainted with, from what I understand. And quite frankly, I really don't care about what the victims have to say. I mean, I'm sorry, not the victims, but the perpetrators. I don't care what they have to say because there is no explanation.
Right. Mrs. Powell,
there is no
I think one suggestion I would like to give you, you don't have to take it obviously, but I found a great help when I met with other people from parents of murdered children who had lost people that they loved as well, because it helped me to be around people who understood what I was going through, because just like you said, other people don't understand it. They can't make it compute through their brains that someone like your child would be gone.
Right. If I used to, Christian's pet name is Papa, but if Papa, if he died, you know, through something that you couldn't control, insofar as, you know, sickness, you know, something like that,
Right.
or even an accident at work, like if he was a construction worker and he fell, or he was a soldier, or a fireman, or something like that, then of course, you know, because that's, you know, that is work related.
You can make sense of it.
If he was, you could make, even if he was in a car accident, a true accident where someone's brakes went out, or if he even got into a fight and he fell, that because the person wouldn't even try and, you know, they might try and fight you, but they may not want to kill you. But this, I will never understand. So this, I really, I'm trying my best. And I talked to Valerie, just to be honest. I talked to her, you know, previously. God bless her. She's been so sweet to me, and I can't say what I really want to say, but I really don't care about the perpetrators. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want them talking to me. I don't want to hear any apologies. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it.
Well, Mrs. Powell, it's been 32 years since my parents were murdered, and I still feel exactly the same way you do right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
I really do.
You don't want to. You
No.
don't. I do not want to hear it. I don't care about them.
Right. I feel the same
And
way.
and I really don't. I don't care. And when and if, like, these two, and this is public record, if those two were to have the same fate that Christian did, it would not be this outpouring of sympathy from me and my family in this town, because these two have had a lot of police contact. My son had none. My son might have had a traffic ticket, maybe a parking ticket, maybe not even a traffic ticket. But he did not get into, even in school, he never got into any trouble. He barely got detention. I think he had detention one time in high school, but he never got into any trouble. So I really don't care about those monsters. I really don't, because there is no justification. There's no justification to me, his father, his grandparents, or, the nice city of Little Rock, or to his fiance, because he, everything Christian touched, he tried to make it work. He had a very, very, very nice, lady friend, and they cheated me, out of her as my daughter-in-law. They cheated me out of my grandchildren, and it's just a huge loss. I can't even begin to tell you, and ma'am, I just feel so bad about what happened to your parents. Oh my God, that's horrible.
I really feel I can deal with it that it was my parents because it wasn't my child. That is so much different, and I think the worst pain any parent could have.
It is. He was my only child. He was my only one, and I'm, of age. I really don't think I'm going to have, another child. I don't think so. Maybe I'll get lucky. I'm not sure, but it will not. It won't replace.
Right.
It won't replace. But I'm trying to keep it together. So if I crack a little, please bear with me. But it's just. I don't even know, because it's not like Christian, he was in a life where you think tragedy would befall him. It's not like he was with a bad group of people and we kind of thought something would happen. He was not like that. All of his friends were, they've been incredibly supportive of me and my family, especially my mother. They've been by, especially with calling, and just even his friends were of good character. And I told him, you have to always, have that. It's character. It's not you clothes or, material things. It's because those things come and go.
Right.
Are you a nice person with or without a nice car, or without or without whatever it is? Because that stuff comes and goes. How is your character?
Right. I
And
think
that's what
one thing. I think one thing people don't understand sometimes is that crime doesn't just happen to a certain type of person. They don't
No.
care if what race you are, what political party you are, what economic strata you're in, what education you have. It can happen to anyone. And your story, this sad story about the loss of your son, proves that.
Yes. Well, if you at his services, Christian's Friends, basically is a rainbow coalition. Every race, every creed, every orientation, because I just told them people are people. It's packaging. Whatever
Right.
it is, it's packaging.
I like that. It's packaging. I like that.
Yeah, it's packaging.
That's right.
That's all it is. Personally, my package is very short. Excuse me, ladies.
That's okay. We are out of time anyway, Kimberly, and I would love for you to come back and talk to us on another weekend.
I really, really would, ladies. I am so sorry. This is perfect because I am getting on my plane. God bless you both.
You have
And
a
as soon as I will call you. Okay, I'll get your information.
I will
a little
text
bit
it to you.
later.
I will text it to you.
Okay, thank you, ladies.
Have a safe
And
flight.
God bless you both.
You
All
too.
right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Well, that was amazing. She's a very strong woman. I just can't. I didn't know what to expect when I talked to her on the phone. But she's a very strong woman. Like I didn't. You don't want to say the wrong thing, or, I felt just some compassion. So we're out of town. I hope that you will come back and join us, Belinda.
I would love to. I want to say one thing before we go real quickly.
Sure.
There's a Facebook page that I want everyone to go to. It's called In the Arkansas Parole Crisis. Go to that, and you will be shocked at the crime that is going on in this state all the time by people who have already been in prison and who are out on parole.
Well, there's so many things that we didn't get to talk about.
Right.
Why don't you come back next Saturday?
Okay.
Can you do that?
I can do that.
And we'll have you
Thank
back next Saturday. You have a article, a column that you wrote that I wanted to talk about. There's so many other things, and maybe we can get Kimberly back on again and see how she's doing.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to all the listeners, we are out. Stay safe and don't be a victim. Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today. I need to tell you about Central Arkansas's newest gun store and indoor range, Arkansas Armory. The emphasis at Arkansas Armory is personal protection, concealed carry, and tactical home defense. They have a 25-yard indoor range with excellent ventilation. If you're looking to take a concealed carry licensure course, or if you just want a convenient place to shoot, give Nathan House and the Arkansas Armory staff a call at 501-835-4867 or stop by at 7600 Landers Road in Sherwood. That's 501-835-GUNS. Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week?
This